In this video, I'll be sharing with you a tutorial or an illustration on how to cut this stylish built-up monostrap flay dress. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. So to start, just like I said, I'm going to cut this in form of an illustration. So here's my starting line, and here is my shoulder to bust line, my shoulder to under bust, my shoulder to waist, and 7 inches or 8 inches to get your hip point. If you're on the much taller side, use 8 inches, and my gown length. So after I'm done marking this, the next step I will take is to go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2. So I'll be using this measurement, and I'll be assuming that is my shoulder divided by 2. Come down by 1 inch from here, and after that go ahead to connect this. Now the next step is to go ahead to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5, and I'll draw a straight line. Now that measurement you have on your shoulder, which is your shoulder divided by 2, mark it on your chest line. Place your ruler and connect. I'll place my tape and divide what I have here into 2, that is your armhole into 2, come out by half. Here I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll connect all the way up and connect to my armhole. Now after I'm done marking this, the next step I'll take is to go ahead to outline my pattern. After this, I'll be inserting my measurement. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, add any sewing allowance of your choice. Mark your waist circumference divided by 4, add your sewing allowance. And mark your hip circumference divided by 4, mark your sewing allowance. Now whatever you have on the hip, go ahead to take it all the way to the lower part of this pattern. So I'm cutting this pattern in form of a dartless pattern to make it easier for me to draft out. Now I'm just going to place my curved rule, connect from the waist to the hip, and from the hip all the way to the lower part of this gown. Now for this gown, I'll be showing you 2 different methods of cutting this out. I'll be showing you the slash and spread method and the flay method, like if you want to cut it in form of a flay, which it is. So after I'm done marking this, I'll go ahead and I will cut this out. So after I'm done cutting this out, I'm going to now go ahead to spread it open. I will draw my chest line here and my shoulder slant. So I'll go ahead to fold my pattern back, and after that we'll now work on the lower part. So when I was cutting this, I didn't realize that the flay started like 3 or 4 inches above the hip. So when you're doing yours, let your flay start 3 inches or 4 inches above the hip line. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut here, like slash it open. So this is the first method I talked about, where you're going to slash and open up your pattern this way to create that flay effect by the side. I'm going to use this slash method for one side and use a normal flay cutting pattern or A-line pattern for the other side. So I just added an additional pattern paper to cover the area that I'll be marking. So if you're using this slash method, you have to like draft it out on another pattern paper before transferring to your pattern. But if you're using the normal A-line or flay cutting, you don't have to like use a pattern paper. So I'll just use a tape to hold down my pattern. Go ahead to place my tape at this point, measure what I have, and I'll go ahead to take it all the way round my pattern, right? So after taking this round, I'm just going to blend it into my pattern. Although I went up by ½ inch a bit at this point because I wanted to make the pattern a bit shorter, right? So go ahead to connect at this other side of your pattern. So I'll just go ahead to cut this out and trace out the side. So just like I said, the slash and spread is supposed to start above the hip line. So when I was cutting, I used the hip line. So if you use the hip line, it might not really give you that flay. So when you're cutting yours, please go ahead to correct that. Now I'll just tape this up because I'll be using this other side to show you another method to get your flay effect. So just like I said, I'm just trying to like illustrate that you're supposed to start above the hip to create the flay effect. So I went ahead to tape this up, and I'll add an additional pattern paper to this. I'm just adding a little pattern paper. So just like I said, start above your hip line So from here, which is your hip measurement, you can add extra 4 to 6 inches. So let's say we are using extra 4 inches first. So let's see the flay effect you're going to get. From above the hip line, I'm just going to go ahead to slant it this way, and I will connect, right? So after connecting, I'll connect it to the length. Now you can go ahead to readjust a little. So after connecting, I'll be cutting this out, right? If you notice by the side, I didn't cut out the actual length. I went up a bit. This is to give it that roundish effect at the lower part. So now let's go ahead to readjust this as if you're using 6 inches to cut out your flay. So from here, I'll go ahead to connect it. So the more addition you add to your hip, the more fuller the flay effect you're going to get at the side of your dress. So you can use 6 inches or above depending on what you want. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut this out. So this is the effect we have here, and this is the effect we have at the other side. So whichever one that suits you, go ahead to do that. So I marked the midpoint of the neckline, and I'll mark 2.5 inches on one side. So for the built up neckline, you can use 2.5 inches and above. This totally depends on how high you want the neckline to be, and connect it back to the shoulder. So from that point, I'll slant, and on the other side, you can use -3 to 4 inches. You can use -3 or -4 inches and connect it to the armhole of the dress. Now come in from the shoulder of your pattern and then readjust this to the armhole of your dress. Now after you're done marking this, go ahead to cut this out. So after cutting this out, also on the other side, we are going to do like a little slash and spread. This is to give this upper part a little fullness. Now I'll just cut like a curve there. This will allow me attach a sleeve to this other side of the pattern, that is the off shoulder part of this pattern, and I'm going to use my tape to hold it down, right? Now to give a little fullness on this side of the pattern, what I'll do is just place my ruler and create a little slash line here, just to get a slight fuller effect towards this part of my pattern. So you can go ahead to slightly extend that slash to this side if you want to get a fuller effect there, or go ahead to extend neckline of your built up collar dress, right? So after this, I'll just use tape to hold this down and open it up a bit, just slightly, something that is not much, so that you have that little gathered effect there when you attach your strap to it. Then go ahead to attach your sleeve to it, and this is what you'll be having on this side of this dress. So if you have any question regarding this particular pattern drafting, please kindly leave your comments at the comment section, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, kindly hit on subscribe button. Thanks.